What is good, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video, and in this one I'm going to be talking about the SPY, the Nasdaq, the QQQs, and many stocks out there. Break down what's going on in the news right now that could affect the markets and how this may actually affect us going into tomorrow. I'm also going to talk about some big events coming out, and then once again how all of this could affect price action going forward. Now, before I break anything down about this, before I get into any more details, I do have to mention a couple of things before starting. Firstly, I'm not a financial planner. Make sure you take none of this as financial advice whatsoever. And also, if you guys can, please smash the like button if you want to see more videos like this. It not only benefits me, it benefits the entire community as a whole. And the last thing is, if you guys can, please check out the Webull link down below and in the description. If you sign up for Webull, the link down below, and deposit any amount of money into the account, you're guaranteed up to 12 free stocks, each worth up to $3,000. And the best part is, any could be a free Tesla share. It's a limited time offer. The offer ends in just 6 days. Check it out before they run out. With that out of the way, let's get on with the video. So anyway, SPY was up 0.1% for the day, once again closing kind of green, and this was similar to what I thought would happen yesterday. However, in the morning, I told you guys something a little bit different. I was not as confident about this move happening. I wanted you guys to be prepared for anything because the news became very, very, very tense after what's happening in Taiwan right now. But let me explain this. So yesterday, I uploaded this video. I said a bounce is likely coming to the markets, and that is what happened today. This also happened on the QQQ, many other stocks out there. Tesla almost turned green at the end of the day. And overall, I mean, I was half right in a way. However, what I was incorrect about was how the market would open. We ended up gapping down pretty hard on SPY and also many other stocks like Tesla after the big news that just came out involving Taiwan and China. And honestly, this is very, very horrible in my opinion. This is just horrible. I say this because military drills around a country are just never a great thing, at least as long as they're not like trying to incite violence or anything like that, or even kind of like do it from a back end. But the bottom line is, this is horrendous because if there really is an invasion, at the end of the day, the people who are hurt the most are just everyday citizens of the country, and the citizens of the other country as well, that's the aggressor. They also get affected by this. And nobody wants more war right now, or at least next to nobody. Nobody really wants this. It's just horrible. It really breaks my heart to see this happening in the world. And hard times really do bring hard situations, right? The last 2 years were very difficult. The current global tensions are just continuing to get worse. And this is not good for a lot of EV companies. This is not good for the world. It's not good for the stock market. And the list goes on. So right now, what is technically good about this is so far there's not been a massive escalation at the time I'm recording this. So far, we're not seeing the invasion or anything like that so far. We are seeing lots of tensions, lots of massive military drills, and lots of their aircraft carriers and etc. all around the country, and it's very scary for the people in the country. And I really hope nothing horrible ends up happening from this. I really hope that this just passes by and they end up just leaving and peace ends up just prevailing. That's what I really want. So the reason I'm going over this is because this will affect the markets. It's going to affect the stock market. It's going to affect trade. It's going to affect millions of people's lives all over the world, if not billions. And I'm going to break down exactly why. So hypothetically, okay, if there's an invasion, if the unthinkable happens, I want to warn you all that SPY is going to crash. SPX, the S&P 500 is going to crash. AMC, Nvda, Tesla, they're going to crash, especially Tesla, NIO, a lot of these companies that are outsourcing in China like crazy. Lots of Chinese stocks, they're going to crash. Initially, it's going to be very, very vicious in the beginning. If that happens, why is that? Because there's an opportunity cost to what would end up happening. Think about what's going to happen to trade between the US and China. Think about how the world is going to respond. The world might end up just, ostracizing China in lots of different ways, right? Cutting trade networks, and the whole country is going to be impacted big time. Also, sanctions are going to come. And one of the other horrible things or concerning things is the fact that President Joe Biden said that the US is going to be open to militarily defend Taiwan. I mean, it's just such a massive mess. I really do not want war in any way, shape, or form. I'm a pacifist. I want peace. I do not want this to continue. But like I said, we have to be prepared for this just in case. All right, just in case. Over the next few days, let's just say I give you guys a bullish prediction. Yes, I'll most likely be correct as long as there's no invasion that happens. But if it does happen, we may have to throw technicals out of the water temporarily and just watch how the market responds, because an invasion is going to be horrendous. It could even negatively affect supply chains in America and drive prices up again. It's going to be just a mess. And the entire market will crash if that happens. So far, it has not happened. So I don't want to like talk as if it happened. Now I'm going to talk about the assumption that it doesn't happen this week or for the next couple of days, the big invasion. Let's assume it doesn't happen. How is this going to affect the markets now? How is the market going to move? Now, because the invasion didn't happen, the market managed to rally. The market held up. It still did all right. And we saw SPY get the bounce, similar to what I was predicting yesterday. I was seeing lots of bullish technicals forming. I did predict that SPY would get a nice push up. We did get it. We just started off very low before it continued. I believe that if the news was not this negative and nothing really like horrible happened in the beginning, this could have pumped even higher. Try to get to about 411 or so. But anyways, what do I think is going to happen going forward? That's what the real question is. I want to inform everyone that on Wednesday, before the market opens, we have CPI coming out. That means for most investors who are not trading the pre-market, for the majority of them, they're not going to be able to essentially like sell when CPI comes out immediately. They're going to have to wait until when the market opens on Wednesday. What this means is Tuesday, tomorrow, is going to be the last close until CPI comes out, the last opportunity for major hedging, for securing profits, and etc. So please be ready for tomorrow. I also want to note that it's going to be your opportunity to maybe secure profits if you're not comfortable with holding overnight and other things like that. So make sure you're ready for Tuesday. We have the Fed Speaker Harker speaking. I think we have a couple of earnings, nothing too significant until Friday from the earnings side. And also this new news came out that Janet Yellen is going to be speaking at about 11:30 a.m. on Tuesday. Now, why is this so important? Well, one thing that's interesting is during the FOMC meeting, Janet Yellen talked about the fact that there were many risks associated with the banking situation, and that caused the market to tank, right? But since then, she spoke 2 or 3 times, and she actually pumps the market every time she spoke since FOMC. So this is telling me that, okay, she's most likely, I think the odds do favor her actually helping the market hold up or even like continuing to pump, because she wants to reassure the entire banking system that things are okay, things are going to be fine, don't worry, and this and that. She's also going to have major egg on her face if she just ends up flip-flopping, and I don't really see her doing that. So I think the odds do favor her talking about how the banks have lots of like leverage, they have lots of support, there's nothing to worry, there's not much to worry about, right? And this and that. And I do believe her words could end up actually pushing the markets up, or at least helping us hold up. Now, she's also going to talk to other financial regulators, the US banking system, and things like that. So it's going to be very interesting for tomorrow. What do I think is going to happen? Well, once again, I don't know what's going to happen on Wednesday and beyond. Starting on Wednesday, I can't really predict that. The last day I can really predict is Tuesday, because on Wednesday, CPI comes out before the market opens. It could cause the market to rally or even crash the entire market. Remember, CPI is also known as the CPI, right? It's very manipulated. I just don't know what it's going to cause exactly. But I do know one thing, and that is, as of right now, at the time I'm recording this, we had a bullish divergence that developed on SPY right here into open. Now, this, once again, I wasn't as confident about this playing out. I wasn't as sure, because once again, it depended on the Chinese situation. No invasion came, and assuming no invasion comes tomorrow, we're most likely going to see this trend continue. We're most likely going to see SPY maybe cool off just a little bit to cool off its RSI, then just try to get closer to 411 in my opinion. I believe the technicals are still favoring the bulls a little bit more. We dropped a bit. We did not break below 406 today. We barely touched below it temporarily. For the large majority of the day, we were above 406. We held it nicely, and we just continued to rock it since then. The odds are favoring a retest of 411. But I just want to note to everyone, be very cautious, because first off, if we're pumping this hard approaching CPI, what does that mean for CPI? Maybe CPI is going to cause a reversal. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. And then on top of that, there's the Chinese situation with Taiwan. Don't forget about it, because once again, we have to be cautious. For tomorrow, I am anticipating that the more bullish case would be a break above the highs from today, and we get a retest of the 411s. A bearish possibility would be a retest of 406. This is a very important, this 406 level. We have some nice support here. If we break 406, that's going to become very bearish. What do I think is going to happen? Like I said before, I think we're going to have a kind of slow start, and then maybe Janet Yellen speaks around 11:30 a.m., a couple of hours into the market session, and the market starts pumping thanks to Yellen, and this could be the last major pump before CPI comes. And once again, CPI could either continue it or cause the crash, but I do believe we're going to likely see this thing approach 411 very soon, as long as the trend continues and as long as nothing too negative happens involving Taiwan. For Tesla, it looks pretty nice in my opinion. It's fighting around this 185 zone. In my opinion, if it can break 185 tomorrow, we're going to likely see this thing try to get closer to 190. There's also the gap around this 192 area. It's holding up nicely so far. We did invalidate this possible like inverse head and shoulders, and so far it's still holding up. In order for Tesla to maintain its composure and continue to pump, we need to see Tesla once again try to break above 185. Now, I'm predicting we might slow down in the morning. Maybe there's more negative news or etc. But I do believe Janet Yellen might pump the markets. The odds do favor that because once again, she is trying to reassure the banks that everything is okay. It's going to help the markets. And then what I'm trying to say is Tesla might also get dragged up to retest the 200 EMA around 188. Once again, previous support becomes resistance. If we break that, then 190 could come from there for Tesla. But once again, don't forget, it's the last day. Tomorrow is going to be the last open market day until CPI comes out. And there's going to be a lot of profit taking, maybe some sideways action, but I do think the odds favor another green close for Tesla. For AMC, I think she's going to have a flat day because overall she's losing some momentum and the volume is slowing down. I think she's going to try to push for almost 5.5, then maybe slow down and close very flat. But overall, I do think it's just going to close flat. We're going to see more profit taking and lots of consolidation as we approach CPI. NEO, once again, nice close above 9. It actually did well relative to many of its counterparts. And I believe that NEO is going to try to get to this 9.2 area, slow down a little bit and close a little bit in the green again. As long as there's no bad news involving Taiwan, it is still very, very possible. Microsoft closed a little red. It did try to bounce a bit. We do have this gap up here around this 292 resistance. Might slow down into open, then try to fill this gap up here, try to push a little bit. And overall, I do believe we're going to see this thing retest 292 very, very soon. For, let's see, the QQQ, this barely closed red. It actually almost closed green. If anything, today it was the SPY that actually ended up coming out on top, and the QQQ actually slowed down a bit. I believe the QQQ is going to try to push a little bit to fill this gap, and it's going to fight for this 318 zone. If the market ends up pumping off Janet Yellen, it could try to get to about the 320s. But then again, we have to be very, very cautious, especially at extreme levels like this, because we are approaching a very big event. Now, the VIX managed to close green. It did, I believe it gapped up, and notice how the VIX has room to actually come back down if it does end up filling this gap. If the VIX comes down to fill this gap, it starts dropping more and more and more into the 18.5s, 18.35s or so. That could be bullish for the stock market temporarily, which tells me the market could still hold up quite nicely, at least for the time being. I don't see the market tanking yet. As long as there's no negative news involving Taiwan or nothing like too insane, we could hold up and continue pumping. I think the odds favor that. Amazon, it closed above resistance at 102. I think Amazon has the potential to try to actually push and get closer to 104 very, very soon. It might cool off in the morning, just like other stocks, then try to bounce and continue. Nvda, wow, this thing is up 2% this actually did exactly what I predicted, just a continuation. It didn't even come down too hard after the bearish news from the open. It came down quickly, then rebounded. If Nvda could hold this level and continue to push, we could see this thing approach 280 very, very soon. It might cool off a little bit, might try to retest this 272 area and then try to bounce. If that's the case, 280 could come if Yellen pumps the markets again. For Aapl has a big gap up here. I think Aapl might cool off and then try to keep going, and it might get closer and closer and closer to filling this gap. If Aapl achieves it, things could improve big time. But please remember, Aapl does a lot of business in China. The news will heavily affect Aapl, so I'd still be very cautious, but from a technical standpoint, it looks like Apple's going to try to fill this gap, help pump the markets even more, and the odds do favor upside. AMD did exactly what I predicted, filling the gap, getting to 95, which was my target. In my opinion, AMD is going to likely cool off, retest the 50 EMA around the 94.6 level. It could try to keep going if the market pumps, and we could see this thing get closer to about 97.27 very, very soon. That's going to be the zone I'm watching, 97.2. For Google, I have it right here. Google gapped down, cooled off a little bit more than the markets, but it bounced off 105, the 105 zone, held and closed just under 107. Our resistance is around, let me see, resistance is around 107.5. If it breaks above this, we could try to fill this gap tomorrow, right? One last pump until CPI comes out is what I'm going to be watching for. And finally, the 10-year Treasury yield is bouncing. Let's be very careful here. I don't know if it's going to come down to fill this gap and then bounce one more time and keep going, or if it keeps going, that could be, a weakness for the markets. We'll see how that actually goes, but I do think it might cool off a little bit to fill this gap. The dollar index, once again, it's starting to break out a little bit more. Let's be very careful here. I don't know if the dollar is going to just try to keep going or if the dollar is going to cool off a little. The dollar might, in my opinion, retest this 50 EMA. It might cool off a little to about 102 flat, and then it might get a big bounce. But if the dollar gets a clean breakout, we haven't actually broken out just yet. We're about to get a bullish breakout soon. That's going to become bearish for the stock market. So what I'm anticipating is maybe the dollar cools off just a little bit since we have this wick above. We cool off just a little, then we try to bounce. And I would say it's looking almost as if the dollar wants to break out soon. Maybe CPI is going to trigger the breakout. If CPI causes it, when the dollar breaks out, right, that typically, signifies CPI is hot. If that happens, that's going to be bearish for the stock market after CPI. So let's watch this very carefully. But I do think the market might hold up for another day, but it's going to react big time to CPI. All right. So anyways, thank you all so much for listening. Just as a quick recap, I'm basically telling you all that the market would crash if China invaded Taiwan. As of right now, I'm not seeing that happening. It hasn't happened yet, and I'm hoping it does not happen tomorrow and beyond. Under the assumption that it doesn't happen, the odds favor more upside for Apple and many other stocks, and that should help the market pump approaching CPI. Now, once again, tomorrow is going to be the last day until CPI comes out, and that's important because there will be some profit taking, maybe some sideways action, some consolidation here and there, but I do think the odds will favor another green close, and the market's going to get ready for the report. The report could make the rally continue or break it, so please be ready. And until then, just be very, very cautious. Thank you all so much for listening. Please remain calm, cool, and collected, and I'll see you guys in the next one. The market to the moon because the long-term future is still incredibly bright, and peace out.